Osiris.
Everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Goose Chicks Podcast, an all-women-led show focused on the band Goose and the community that supports them. I'm Leslie Mack, producer and co-host. And on this episode, the whole crew is here to recap what can only be described as Goose's incredible 2022 as we all prepare, that's right, all of us, to head to Cincinnati for their New Year's Eve run. Hello, ladies. How are you all doing today?
Awesome. Oh my gosh. I'm good.
Yeah.
T-minus 2 days, and we are there for New Year's Eve and then New Year's Eve, and all four together. This is super exciting. I'm so excited to be with you ladies and the rest of the Goose community and Goose band. Like, oh my gosh, I got goosebumps this morning. I'm like, here we go. T-minus 2 days. Been texting everyone. So as you can tell, I'm ready for this. I'm so ready for this.
Ready. So ready indeed. Hannah, how about you? How are you feeling this week? How are things going for you? We're so excited. We're going to be in your home turf. It's so exciting.
I know. So I was like texting friends the past couple day or so. Like, I feel like a kid on Christmas Eve before opening presents, like getting ready to open presents. Like, that's how this feels for me. And it's not, I mean, obviously it's the music, but it's my home turf. I get to meet you all in person. Well, I met Alexius briefly in person before, but I get to really hang out with all of you in person. There's some folks from Western Sun Foundation that I've been trying to meet up with and just chat with them. So it's just like, I'm like a giddy schoolgirl. Like,
I love it.
I'm just so excited.
I love it. Chelsea, how about you? How are you feeling this week? How are things going for you?
I mean, I think everyone's just so excited. I keep thinking about our group chat, going back and forth. They're like, what are you wearing? Or can we do this? We should get together for dinner. Let's ride the rail. And it's just like so fun making all those plans together for all four of us. And then I figured out who I'm going with, and I'm bringing my nephew to his first Goose shows, which is super exciting. I've taken him to concerts and stuff in the past. That cool aunt, but I'm introducing him to Goose. So I'm super excited about that too.
Oh, that's so dope.
Yay.
I love bringing people to their first Goose show. It's the best, literally the best. It's so
and now you're the coolest aunt ever because you're bringing him to his first Goose show. Like that's never going to be forgotten. He's going to be like, my Aunt Chelsea, she took me to the Goose show and no less in 2022. Like that's the important thing in 2022, because this year is epic, has been epic. And so go Chelsea, best aunt award ever.
On that same note, I was texting all my cousins for the holidays, and I found out that my cousin who, we don't see each other a lot because she lives in San Diego and has for 20 years. We ended up somehow talking about Goose, shocker. And her husband has San Diego tickets. So, and I've always said I'm going to go see them. So I think there's a 95% chance I'm going to go to San Diego for that weekend, spend it with them, go to Goose with Bill. And then my little cousin, she was out at Bluegrass Night drinking with me and my friends, and she's 24, real young, and she was like, I want to go with you guys. And so I think I'm going to bring my family to Goose too. So, woo!
I love it. I have a few friends that are eyeing some of the shows we're going to. I think I'm going to take a friend that's trying to go to Philly and also one of the Nashville shows. So I'm excited to bring some people that have heard me going on and on about Fish and are like, okay, they're touring. They're going to be in my area. You're going. I can go too. Right. Awesome. Well, let's get into the show. We have some running segments we do every episode. And this first one may be controversial. I don't know. But I want to talk about the song Thatch in our How Did We Get Down segment where we talk about lyrics. And so the folks that don't know, Thatch is one the second to last new song that Goose has put out. They wrote it during the Taboos tour and performed it 2 days after they wrote it. They've performed it a few times since then, including during Goosemas, and Arabelo also has performed it. There's been a little controversy out there, maybe not controversy, just questions around what the actual lyrics are. I was at the Old Town Pub show in Colorado, and Peter jokingly said, does anybody have any questions for Rick? And somebody literally shouted from the audience, what are the lyrics to Thatch? And Rick replied, I don't know. I just mumble most of the time, which is not true, but we appreciate it. So now the legend is growing as to what exactly the lyrics are to Thatch. I will put a link to the Goose community lyrics to Thatch, and shout out to, I think Sarah is the one who put these specific lyrics together.
Serotonin.
Yes, that's right. I pulled them up and went through the Arabelo show, and these seem pretty spot on. A few things that are unique about this song. One, it's the first time that an F-bomb has been dropped in a Goose song, which is very interesting. And Rick hits that F-bomb very pointedly when he's singing, which is really funny. And as I said, this was written, during the Taboos tour, and it's their second newest song, because since this happened, they premiered another song called Mr. Action at the Fox Theater, which is another great new song. So I wanted to talk about this because my husband and I have been having an argument about the song. I love it. I think it's really great. I love the time signature changes, and I really love the lyrics. And I've felt a big connection to them, and he's felt like they're very disjointed and there isn't a linear progression. And it's not a story song, so it's not one of those. So I'm curious, one, what are your thoughts about Thatch? And then I wanted to specifically start with Hannah, because I know you said that you felt like Rick said it was Fish influenced, or you felt more Fish influenced, which makes sense in the timing of when they wrote it. So yeah, Hannah, your thoughts on the song. We'll start with you and then we'll go around.
Sure. So I kind of see where your husband is coming from. Shout out to Drew. I can't wait to meet you, because it isn't like that story, or it isn't, in a lot of ways, a lot of Rick's songs follow like a traditional songwriting formula, right? And so I think on the one hand, that's why like a lot of people really, think their music is refreshing, because they write these cute little love songs that, are pretty traditional or whatever. This is not that, which I like. I like that because it leaves a lot open to interpretation, which I really appreciate. I often, as I said before, don't interpret songs the way other people do. So I really like that aspect. But for me, it does feel kind of fishy in that sort of nonsensical lyric way. Maybe not as much, but I think this is just an example of, Rick is learning so much musically. Not that he already knew a gazillion things, but he's just soaking everything in that he's experiencing. And so he's experimenting with new ways of writing lyrics. And I think we're seeing that front and center in Thatch.
Yeah, that's very true. Chelsea, you've heard it. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Did you like the song when you first heard it? What did you think of it in comparison to the rest of the Goose canon?
Yeah, I really like the song. I do keep thinking it says "My Love Bunny," like "My Love Bunny," and I'm like, but I don't think it does. But that's what I kept hearing, and I was like, oh, okay, what are we doing here? But no, I like the feel of the song. Even past the lyrics, feels very like working yourself up for something. Like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And it just feels very like you're working up momentum towards something. Yeah. So that's what I like about it. It feels very like uplifting, kind of like you're giving yourself a pep talk type thing is like the vibe I got from it. So I thought that was cool too, but I'm definitely going to need to listen to it more.
Chelsea,
you get a better idea of it.
You just hit on the head why I love the song so much, and that's the exact feeling it gives me. And when I finally okay, I've got lyrics that I think are pretty solid, and started reading them as the song was playing, I realized that it was pumping me up. And how I feel, or my interpretation of the song itself, is that it's meant to be this kind of moment of you deciding to do something. And are you going to actually do it? Are you going to, find a new hill? Are you going to find out what's at the bottom of the well? Are you going to grab the flag and run? Like it really brings in this energy of like, you can do it, and telling yourself that you can do it. And so that's why I really love the lyrics. I know they're a little bit, less linear and not a story being told specifically, but each of the verses really gets to that same core point for me anyways, that like, has it been weighing on it? Did it come loose? Like all of those things, like making me think of like when you're trying to do something and stuff keeps pushing you backward and stopping you from do it. And like, are you going to push through? Are you gonna turn your, right? Because that's like the ... of each of the choruses. I'm definitely going to turn my, and to me that ... allows us to fill in whatever we want to turn, right? And I love that aspect of it. It just feels really like able to be applicable to so many situations, so many moments, so many things that we all go through as humans. So we're totally on the same wavelength there, Chelsea. And that's why I really love the lyrics to this. Alexius, I'm going to turn it over to you.
It's so awesome. Like, I love how everyone gets different views of what the songs are, but then certain things we bond, or we have like certain views of the same thing. But with Thatch, I absolutely love the song. I absolutely love the beat of it. And usually that's what brings me in first, is the beat. And that's just the way that I process songs. And so what I absolutely love about Thatch is, like y'all were saying, is how that they're that are you going to get up and do what you're going to, just to make it through to the next thing, and how hard life is. But then I also like how Rick leaves lyrics open for us to interpret. Like, he doesn't immediately have words out for the songs. And I know that drives a lot of people nuts. But to me, I think it's a beautiful thing, because we all receive different messages from different songs, and we all are able to receive the message that we need to receive from that song before lyrics are put out, before people are like, oh, no, this is what this song means, and this is what this song means. Because if you're able to interpret it yourself before all these words come out, you have a special bond with the song. You're able to listen to it, and when people aren't around, you're singing your words to it. You're singing what you need to get out of that song. And that's the beautiful thing that I love about Rick's mumbling and about, the songs, is that we get what we need to get out of it, and are able to connect to it that way. And so I think that's awesome. And even when the words come out, we're just like, oh, well, yeah, I see that, but then this could be this way. And so it's all just a open dialogue of how that things could be interpreted. And it's absolutely really gnarly to hear the whole community going over it. And just I never liked poetry growing up, and this is just a whole nother ball game of, wow, poetry can be completely different. This is, you can interpret it, and it doesn't have to rhyme, it doesn't have to sound like this. And so I think Thatch is a very good example of that, like an amazing beat, and then the words of how that we need to connect to the song. And I think that's an awesome thing that the band does. And also, I think a lot of it is just what's I don't know how you interpret it. And I was talking to Matt Campbell. I got lucky enough to see him. And I don't know if you know who Matt Campbell is, but he was Visudo, who was a kind of what is it, like like Bob Marley, like that reggae type of music of Goose. And so some of the Goose songs have come from Visudo and stuff. And so I was talking to Matt Campbell, and he was saying that he and Rick had been getting together and been writing songs together. And so it's just really cool to see what they're coming up with, to see what's going on. And that's probably why there is a difference in, I'm not for sure if Matt helped on this song, but there will be differences. And with as much as they have going on, it's really cool to hear that Matt and Rick are working together on this and songwriting together. together. Matt is very talented. And I also was like, Matt, when is Vasudo going to come back? You know, but they're really busy. And so I'm just happy to know that Matt is still in the mix because he's an absolutely amazing musician. And so I think that's a little bit of the difference that, you know, the difference in the song that we're the lyrics and stuff also is because, you know, as busy as they've been and, you know, now it is going to be like that Fish, you know, Trey doesn't write all of his songs. He has a songwriter to come in and help. And so Rick has found his level and who he's comfortable with and, you know, who he writes well with. And so I don't know if that's going to be a thing that goes on forever, but I do know that it's a thing that's happening right now. So things can be different from the way that it was, and they will be. And I think it's a really, really cool thing to see the difference and how another thing of how they're changing and how that they have evolved over this year. And the past years, but it's really like this year has just been just bam, bam, bam. So that's really, really cool to see how someone's being brought in to help with everything that's going on and someone that we absolutely love, that they've been together for years and years and started a band, and then this has come out of it. So if you haven't checked out Vasudo, people, everyone should check them out. They're absolutely amazing. I'm hoping that that's a side project that they can get back in the works. But that's my interpretation on it. Is just it is different. But it's a awesome way to help us interpret and help it to connect to us before they put the lyrics out, like other musicians do. That the lyrics are right there as soon as the song is finished, they have lyrics for it, and this gives us time to ponder on it, to connect with it, to connect with the band, with the community, and to talk about it. Hey, what did you get out of this? Hey, what did you get out of this? And that's been a great thing that we've seen online in the groups is, hey, what, and I know that's been a big thing. What are the lyrics? What are the lyrics? But we're all being able to take it in for ourselves and it talk to us before the lyrics are coming out and bond with that. So it's a different thing. It's really, really awesome to see what they're doing and how they keep changing things up on us and making it just better and better and better, which is mind blowing because that's what we always say. Like, how are they getting even better? How is each show
the reaction from the crowd, considering this was a song that was about 30 days old for the fans, anyways, and that everybody was so excited to hear it. I was like, this one's going to be one that we're going to hear a lot. People are going to really, grab onto. And I do think that the time signature change and how ripping it is going to be great. But also I know eventually they're going to do a slow version and it's going to be equally awesome. So I just know all of those things and various ways that we're going to get to hear it. So our next segment. Oh, sorry. Chelsea,
I just wanted to interject really quick, kind of building off of what Alexius said. So do y'all remember on the Facebook chats, when Dripfield officially dropped and the lyrics were released and Arrow, and everyone was like, that is not what I thought the lyrics were. And so that's just when you were talking, that's what I thought of. Literally that song went viral within our community because everyone was like, I thought it was this. Well, I thought it was that. And it was just to me, that was one of my favorite virtual Goose fan moments when that dropped. So totally know what you mean by that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't even think I can sing the right lyrics. I try to for the sordid mouth, sordid bow, or or sordid bow, sordid
I mess
mouth.
Up that all the time, but who cares? It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Nobody can hear me anyways. They're listening to Rick, so what's the difference? Yeah. For sure. Okay, so our next segment is called Goose Talk, where we talk a little bit about some information about the band if you're new to Goose. And I'm going to turn this over to Alexius, who's going to do a band member breakdown for us.
Okay, so yes, we've done a lot of talking about Goose, but we haven't broken down who the band members actually are. So we're going to go from beginning to the latest, to our latest, addition to the band. So we have Ben Atkin, and he's on the drums. He's been there 2014 to present, and he's also known as Spuds. And I am a huge fan. I'm Team Fred, which Team Fred was Ben, the drummers, Ben and Jeff. So I'm a huge fan of Mr. Ben. And so Rick Mediterranda, I'm not for sure. I think we've all butchered his last name, but he is guitar, vocals, and he's been in it 2014 to present. Some of his nicknames are Snakes, Rich, Machine Gun Rick. I like to call him Ricky Bobby. That's my personal.
I love that. The first time I saw them, my first show, I was like, okay, I'm trying to listen to see if they call him Rick or Rich or what. And Peter literally called him like 5 different names. He was he was just going back and forth. He's like, Rick, Rich, whatever else. Rich. Yeah, and I'm like, it's all right. Well, I guess it's all of them. That's
yes,
cool too.
It is
definitely. I was going. I had the pleasure I'd met Patrick back at Fred Fest last year. And, I'm not the type of person to ask and of all these things. And so we're hanging out at Goosemas and come to find out he's Rick's cousin. Had no idea. So, and I'm just like, hey, perfect. So can I ask you, like, what do y'all call Rick? Because this is an ongoing thing. Like, is it Rich, because a lot of people are like, it's Rich with a K, and it's just like, or, lots of different things. So he was saying it's more of a when you met him in his life and how close that you are to him. And so I don't want to give away things that his family has called him and stuff, but it's definitely more like Rick and so it's not like Rich and so his dad. So here we go. So his dad, his name is Ricky or Rick or Richard. So that's where the Rich, comes in. And so, but he was actually called Ricky by family. So I guess I am kind of giving that away. Yeah, sorry, Rick. But I'm saying this because it's such a confusing thing in the community, and going back and, OGs will be like, it's this way to new fans. It's like, hey, like, it's okay. Like, we're not his best friend. We're not his family. Like, I'm sure that my name is Alexius. People call me Alexis, Lexi, Alex, different things all the time. Like, I'm sure he's not, that upset about it. So, but that was
I've been calling him DJ Rick recently since he started working those pedals so efficiently, which I think the first time I saw him doing it was Dylan Night 1. I wasn't there, but watched it in hindsight. My husband was, and then all the way through to Goose Mess, it's like, wow, he just picked up this particular skill. And I have quite a few pictures of him just bent down, like loading all of the sounds into the pedals. And then he'll do a whole solo just with that. It's really fantastic. I even texted when he started doing Drip Field at Goose Mess, I texted the Charlie from the Atlantic. I said, here comes DJ Rick, because I had mentioned it to him. I'm like, be on the lookout, because you'll note it. You'll see it, and note it. He was like, oh my gosh, you're so right.
Do y'all remember for like a few shows, I think this summer, that they were doing a loop where they'd leave stage and the loop would and I thought that was going to be a thing, and then it kind of stopped. Do we know anything about like where that came from or why that stopped? Or I'm just curious. You made me think of that.
I would imagine it has to do with the venue size, because you can't do that at like arenas. But at smaller venues, it's easy to do that. And also it assumes a very quick time between second set and encore, because that's when Peter would do it. He'd leave it on, they'd leave stage, and then come back pretty quickly thereafter. So I think those are, for me, that's been the two factors. When I saw it, it was like they went off and came back on like very quickly, and the venue was small enough that it wasn't like ear splitting to have that sound just like playing throughout the entire arena.
And I think also the times that it's happened is the times where where they had a curfew, and so that it was like they knew that it had to be very fast, and that they had to run back on, and because there are some venues that that have the curfews, and so it just depends on what's in. And I think a lot of it is just trial and error, like what works for us best, what's doing best. And this isn't working out, or this isn't. And just like Leslie said, okay, this venue is way too big for this. This is, or we not enough time. And
they started switching to the non-core as well, where they'd just be like, hey, we don't have time for an encore. Thanks for coming, but we're going to do one more song. So we've also, I feel like those two things started getting kind of put in the mix, because when they start late as hell, and two, they often are coming up against these curfews. I will know that Goose has made it to a new level when they start just going past curfews and paying the fees. It's going to be really interesting when that happens, because Fish does it all the time. They don't give a shit. They have, obviously gobs of money, and they don't give a crap how light they play. So they often will go past curfew and just pay whatever the fine is. Obviously an up and coming band, you can't really do those things. So it'd be interesting to see that.
Well, they have done that a couple of times in certain places, where I was, oh yes, we're going to go into a third set for sure. Like they were told before they could do that. And then it comes down, it's like, hard, no, you can't do this. And so a lot of that is, is venues lying and saying that they can, and then coming back and, being like, oh no. And, so a lot of that is the logistics with the city and, venues saying that they can. And so a lot of that we've seen this year too, of Goose has come back with the venues. And Leslie, you've seen it a lot where, venues are, oh, we've got this, and they don't have it. And Goose management has come back in a snap and, put them in place, has bought, or not bought, but like bought or, paid other people to come in and make this happen. We were at the Atlanta one where it was absolutely horrible. And they started almost like 2 hours late. And, just because the security was so bad. And then the next night they
rearranged everything. Like literally they moved everything all over. And it was like, okay, you all listened, and realized this was not working. And we've seen that.
Goosemas was the same way. I mean, they were like, literally like security's like, is it doing better tonight? Are we doing better tonight? Is this? And, asking us like what we thought, and, the people and I was like, yeah, actually tonight is better and it is easier. So that's been an interesting thing. And I think, Leslie, I think you're exactly right. Like, I think it's going to be coming more and more and more. I just think that this year has just been such a growth that next year, I think we'll see a lot more third sets or three sets, and, with them getting more comfortable in like what they can do, what they can't do, because this has been a huge year of growth, and it's just a learning page for everyone. What can we do? What we can, what we can't do. And that Taboos tour was just it was an awesome thing for them to be able to learn a lot from the big guy, and take him under his wing. So
absolutely. And the whole apparatus that comes with the big guy, right? It's not just Trey. It's this, very well-oiled touring machine that they got a really like firsthand peek into and seeing like what works. And we already saw so many things change already. We mentioned the ASL interpretation on our last episode, but also 4:30 outside the venue merch sales, new since the Taboos tour. So it's been great seeing some of those things they've taken and been like, this actually works better. This will be better for our fans, et cetera, et cetera. And their wallets. I'll be honest, like that 4:30 merch, they sold 4 times as much merch as they would have if they hadn't done that. I should ask Naveed, but I know for sure. I could just, I was like, wow, so many people, because you don't have to bring it in the venue. You can just throw it in your car, throw it back in your room. It just changes your possibility of being like, do I want to buy 3 t-shirts and then try and track them while I'm trying to dance? No, I'm not going to, but I'll buy 4 if I can just throw them in my car. So a lot of that I think is really cool.
I might turn into a poster person at this if they keep doing that.
Listen, just beware. It's a very expensive and very
very expensive addiction.
Yeah, I don't think I can afford that.
So I just warn people. My husband is big into it, and it's an obsession, and it's really, it's a lot. Yeah. I love it because our house looks amazing. I'm going to take some pictures before I come out and post them, because it's really something special. Yes. A whole wall just of Goose. I call it the wall Naveed built. I'm going to make sure you guys see it. because it's really
Naveed Hall.
The Naveed Hall right here. Shout out to those who don't know, Naveed is the merch manager for Goose, and you often see him solo running their merch booth quite often, and is just a really amazing person. So shout out to you, Naveed.
So sweet, Naveed. He's like amazing.
Okay, so next up is the man of mystery himself, Alexius.
Oh, the man of mystery. That's right, Trevor Weeks. He does bass, poetry, and he has been in the band since it started 2014, aka Tweaks, and you will hear people yelling nonstop, Trevor, take your shirt off, Trevor, take your shirt off.
Y'all stop that.
I think that's really died down a lot, I noticed.
Thank God. All of us have been really, really vocal about it. I give the dirtiest looks when anybody does it in front of me. I'm like, inappropriate. Yes. Don't do that. It's really, it's so inappropriate. And I love Trevor. I just love when Trevor breaks. It's my favorite thing. Clearly the rest of the band does too. At Goosemas, it was so funny. Peter had those animal sounds queued up and Trevor could not contain himself. I mean, he didn't just smile. We got an actual laugh on stage. It was so great. And I could just see Peter being like, yeah, I did it. I broke him.
That smile was beautiful.
That smile was so good. And then the other time I remember him really busting out and just being so animated on stage was when Big Boy joined them at Stubbs, because he got to play, the most important part of that song, the bass line, and So Fresh and So Clean. And he just was having so much fun. And Drew literally was like, I see you, Trevor. And before he left the stage, he nodded and pointed at Drew like, yeah, I was really into it. I love that. I have almost all my best pictures of the band or of Trevor. He just is always perfectly lit. He doesn't move a ton, so you can get a really good photo of him. And usually, depending on the side of the stage, Ben's kit is usually right in the background, so you can get the Goose logo and Trevor in a single shot. And usually, they just turn out like just chef's kiss. So I have, of all the band members, I have the most photos of Trevor.
I love Tweetside personally.
Me too.
That's my side. Trevor's side, I absolutely love it. Don't get me wrong, I love Peter, but everyone gets more. Everyone wants to be right up front on Peter's side, and
girls,
and a lot of the camera shots will come from Peter's side, and I want to be at the shows and have a good time. I don't want to have to worry about being on camera, and but I also love the Trevor side because you get the Trevor bombs. You can feel that bass just vibrating, and it's just absolutely amazing. He is very talented, and like you said, he doesn't move much. I think that he, I don't think that people think about this enough. Just think of how quickly that they have trajected on this path. And he's a very shy guy. And I mean, it has just quickly just blown up. And so, he doesn't move as much, but through the Taboo show, he was, Dez was, and I think that really helped him because I've seen, in Goosemas, him loosening up, him enjoying it, that beautiful smile showing. Like my mama used to say, I paid for that beautiful smile. You better make sure everyone sees it. And then, and when he just smiled so big and you can just tell that he's loosening up and that he's because he's so talented. And, so I'm thankful that he's, feeling it and just starting to loosen up because I know a lot more is going to come out of it. And him with that bass this week and his hand just riding up and down it. And it was just the man of mystery. I just have to say it was very sexy, extremely sexy.
And also I think it's what always amazes me is I said, Machine Gun Rick is called Machine Gun Rick because Rick plays so fast sometimes. And Trevor and Ben have to keep up with this motherfucker. They have to literally keep time with him. And I watch Trevor all the time and I'm like, wow, just seeing him increase his speed as Rick does as well and always match it perfectly. It's something really, really special and so great to see. And I love that. And also I really do think he rearranged my bowels during Goosemas because some of those notes, I really was like, holy crap. Chelsea, you were sitting on Trevor's side during Goosemas. So I'm curious. Yeah, your vantage point was like right on Tweaks. So yeah, what are your thoughts about him and his stage persona?
He, like you guys said, he's definitely loosening up more. That was definitely the most I've ever seen him just like bobbing around and smiling, and I swear looking at me, but I don't know.
He was definitely looking at you. We already know that for sure.
In that video I have, he definitely looks over like 3 times. And so I like to think that he's like vibing off me, like, oh, this girl in the crowd is really feeling it. Like, because I have a lot of musician friends and they tell me that all the time. Like you out there dancing makes us have so much fun and get into it.
Oh, yeah.
And so I kind of like to think I'm his muse or something like that out in the crowd.
Love it.
Yeah, it was fun. And also the guys, those, right? Those 3 particularly, Ben, Rick, and Trevor, like have played together so long. Like you were saying, they just know each other so well and where they're going to take things, and they're just able to bounce off each other. It's really cool to see.
Yeah. And how they end songs, it's always the 3 of them kind of looking at each other like, okay, we're ready now. And I love all that interplay. One of the reasons why I love the rail, I love it for a lot of reasons, but that's the things that you don't get to see when you're farther away, is like the little interactions between them. And I love the way Trevor and Rick and Ben, sometimes they'll just be looking at each other like, literally like, I don't know, which I just find hilarious. And
we're just going for it.
Yeah, we're just going to.
I think it was in Nashville when Peter was like, during Earthling or Alien, Peter's like, get me out of this, Rick.
Yeah. He was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know what's happening. Pull the cord. Yeah, it's hilarious. Speaking of Peter, he's up next, Alexius.
Yes, so Peter Ansbach, he's on the keyboards. He plays the guitar, also vocals. He's been in the band since 2017, and his nickname, aka Handini. So another little fact about Peter is that yes, he plays the keyboards, but he did not play keys or piano or anything. He was more of a guitarist and had another little side band going. And so he literally started playing the keys to play in Goose. And, and so it's absolutely phenomenal to have that music, to be able to play music like that and just put those chords together and be like, yeah, I can do this. No problem, and just to hear him play, and you would never imagine that it's just been within the last, even 10 years, and it hasn't even been that long.
It hasn't even been that long. 2015, he's picked up the keys. So that's wild to me.
It's completely wild. And then the way that he can just take the keys and just go. Yeah, I've been playing piano since I was like 10 years old. And would I ever have just be like, yeah, I'm going to take the keys. I can do this. Don't worry. But Peter does have, his mom played music. And so he comes from, and he said that he's been knowing about music since he was in his mommy's tummy, that she would, be singing to him every night. And so that was a beautiful story. We got a lot of these stories at Fred Fest, like backgrounds of where they were learning things from. Peter was really good to explain a lot of things. So that was really cool to hear, about how that he came about with the keys. And but that's with Peter, so Handini. And it's been really awesome to see everything that he's added this year, because I think he only had like 3 keyboards at the beginning of the year. Was it 3 or 2?
I think it was 3. Now it's like 7.
Yes.
And it was funny. I didn't notice when you're down below, you can't get the scale of it, but we were at Mohegan Sun and we were up high for that show. And he honestly looks like he's in like a pit of keys when you're from above, because it's so many keyboards. And then of course he has his guitar on his back, and he's always like going back and forth, and he moves around the most of the band members. He loves to dance in front of everybody and go around the stage, and obviously is the most often speaking from the mic. So you'll hear his voice the most, his talking voice the most. Although
he's definitely the showman.
Absolutely, the showman. And I imagine this is one of the things I think about, especially why I think Peter and Rick are such a great pair, is that for so many bands, Rick's the lead singer, and that pressure is really specific and can be a lot. But when you have someone like Peter who can take the showman piece away and allow Rick to just do what he wants to do, it's such a great balance of things. And Peter's so personable. He loves interacting with people, not just on stage. Like, we've told many stories already about him. Like, I have, a selfie with him, and my husband did too. He tried to FaceTime me with my husband, and they didn't get through. And he's like, "You better tell her to turn that back on." Like, just funny things like that. And he's always interacting with fans, bringing water out to lines when it's hot and stuff like that. He's so just a complete extrovert and really fun and funny. And also shout out to his girlfriend, Becky, who's really kind to people on tour as well. She's always out there. And I just wanted to say, just a shout out to her, because she's.
And they also have what's the business that they're doing? Is it PARC or?
Yeah, I think it's PARC. I think it's right.
And so you can check that out online also, because those two are absolutely amazing. And I think they're just looking, just trying to help people in their businesses. And because when I was looking into it, I was like, wow, this is amazing. They're just trying to help people get their dreams. And so it's definitely something to look into, buy their merch. And they're just such sweet people. They want for everyone to be happy and be successful. And Peter was a big reason that I put my phone down as much. And it shows, one of the first shows I went to, his thing was always phones down, heads up, hearts
open. That's right.
And that is the biggest thing for me now. Like, I don't even like to get my phone out that much at shows. I did at Goosemas just a couple of times because I had like such a good spot, or was it the Fox, that I was like, oh, I can actually get like a few photos right here. So I did pull it out a couple of times, but it's been such an eye opener. And y'all know, when I go to shows, like, you either have to text me or call me, because I'm not getting online. I'm not, I'm spending my time with the people that I love and who's around me and who I don't get to see as often. And thanks to Peter, I have really been enjoying that and really been disconnecting and realizing, like, wow, our phones aren't everything. And the family, the Goose fam and everyone, I think that's why my life is so less stressful, is because I'm able to disconnect and force myself to disconnect, because that runs through your mind of like, hey, you don't get to see these people as often. You can disconnect. You can have your heart open and connect with everyone. So the band's just a beautiful, they want everyone love, joy, and everything with the goodness coming into our lives and no negativity. And so that was an amazing thing that Peter said. And, a lot of people are doing that in the community, and it's just, and outside the community, it's gone on through different things. When I'm at holidays or different things with family, I'm like, okay, phones down. Let's focus on what we're doing right now. Be in the moment. And so he always has a lot of things. And Becky, his girlfriend, is just super sweet. And as always, the woman brings brings the good out in men. I'll say, because I will say this much. Trevor, I had no idea that he had a girlfriend, but I looked over at my husband and I said, you know what? I said, I think Trevor's dating someone. And I was like, and I don't know the girl, but I really like her. And Jason goes, he's like, why are you coming out and saying that? And I was like, because look, I was like, he's so much happier. He's like putting, like a lot more energy into it, and just a lot more of like the things that he might have been insecure about before. And so then, a week goes by, we find out that Trevor does have a girlfriend. And I'm like, I told you, like, it just helps the couples, and it doesn't have to be a man or a woman, or, just whichever way. Couples really help each other to support each other. And that support is just amazing. So it was really cool. I got to meet Trevor's girlfriend also at Goosemas, and she is as amazing as I thought she was. And you can just see through Trevor, just, just the awesome things that she's doing, and in the back, just to support him and encourage him. And so that was a really cool thing that I was right on that. I was really excited. Just the main thing. I was really excited that I was right
Picking up all the cues. I love that. All right, that brings us to the final member of Goose.
Jeff Arevalo. And so he is percussion, vocals, and he's been in the band since 2020. So as you hear percussion is also another word for drums, drums like the little shakers that you see. And so he plays drums. He does like all the extra. And Jeff is Gong Gang. So you'll hear about the Gong Gang. Gong Gang. And so he has this big gong and, and he'll hit it, and everyone, and it's just in certain spots. And he'll hold his, I don't even know what it's called.
Like the mallet, maybe.
The mallet. Yeah. He'll hold it up in the air and everyone's like, yeah. And he hits it. And also another fun thing about Jeff is their side project, Arevalo. Jeff plays the upright bass. And so they're all just extremely musically talented, can go from musical instrument to musical instrument.
I don't know what Jeff doesn't play. He plays the saxophone. Honestly, this dude is so talented. It's really mind blowing. I'm like, what do you do poorly? I just want to know if there's any. Exactly. I haven't found it yet. What is it?
I have a question. Was he trained professionally? Like, did he go to music school in college? Because I was just curious with the upright bass, if he was trained kind of classically.
I thought they all went to Berkeley.
Okay. Yeah, they all went to that's
Berkeley School of Music.
That's how Jeff. Yeah. That's my interpretation. Like Chelsea, like I'm not haven't checked it, but that's what I was told is that's how Jeff and Jeff and Peter and all them met was through Berkeley, like Chelsea said. Yeah.
And because Trevor plays a 5-string bass, which like one of my pet peeves, because the electric bass is actually very similar to the violin, and I played violin for years, is when people have a 5-string bass, but they don't actually utilize it and like, you know what I mean? And so Trevor really does. And I think he's so impressive with what he can do on the bass. And so I just appreciation for that for sure. Yes. But yeah, they're all so talented. And I was just curious, like what their background was musically.
Right. It's I actually love this part because everyone gives everything to the guitarist and the main singer. And I don't think that people realize enough, like, drums, bass, how much that this, puts into it and adds onto it. And it can't just be, Ricky that's doing everything, even though he is a guitar god at this point. Like he is just amazing. And to watch his muscles that have just gone like just on this arm.
I was looking at his forearm during Goosebumps. I was like, holy crap. Like amazing. You can just see it's like bulging. I'm like, oh my goodness. That's very true. And I also think the other thing about Jeff that I find really interesting is I often find in jams, he's driving a lot of the movement of the jams. If you watch, you'll see he's kind of keeping the time signature, and he uses the gong to like restart a piece of a jam and like get them back on track. And so, he doesn't get enough love for that as well, because a lot of this, the sound that we hear, the richness of the sound comes from the things that Jeff does. So shout out to Jeb. We love you, dude. You're the best. He tells the worst jokes, and he's also just the worst. As my husband says, almost not a joke. That's how.
Exactly.
But he also is super active on social media. He, especially on Twitter, like he talks to people constantly. The other day he went off on someone because, he said people need to stop requesting that they play Careless Whisper, that Arevalo plays Careless Whisper because they want him to play sax. And he's like, I hate it and we're not doing it. So stop asking. And I just thought it was so funny that he was just like, yeah, I've seen it one too many times. I'm just going to address it right here all at once. And so definitely follow him on all the things because he's really, really active. And I wanted to also mention that at least last I heard, Peter runs Goose's social media account. So generally when you see a post, Peter is the one that has written them in, or if the band responds to you, it's him as well. So I'm sure they'll get
my comment the other day
soon. Yeah. So that was Peter tells you that like your
I was like really excited. They liked my comment. I was like, oh yay.
I heard that Peter used to respond to people in El Goose before El Goose. how it is now. I say that diplomatically.
Yeah, but I definitely, while we're talking about because I know that we're about to move on segments, I just definitely want to remind, how important it is for the whole band. Like, I didn't even get to talk about Ben that much, and I felt terrible. I'm going to run back to Ben. Ben is insanely talented, a beast. Like, just, he is insanely talented. He was giving lessons, drum lessons all up until this past year. And he said, he's like, if I see someone that's truly, that's got that they have that talent. So he's like, if I can, I would possibly take time out here and there to give them lessons. But Ben is such a gem to the band. He's absolutely insanely amazing, number one. And I know I say that word amazing too much, but he is very, very interactive with the fans. His fiance, Sam, and he and his parents and they're all so interactive with the fans. And he makes sure to come out and talk to everyone. He tries to come out and talk to everyone, but the people who are there earlier, like the rail riders that stay out there all day, like, they make sure to come out and talk to everyone and to say hey. And Ben, he's just so humble. Like, he never worries about that, that just having to be the person in the front. And, he just very much just gladly, like the smile and taboos and stuff, Ben just made me so joyous because, when the torch went up there and, and then Trey threw it back, and just Ben's face of just pure joy, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. And you could just tell that he was so genuine, so humble, so excited like we were. And just, I don't think enough good words are said about other people in the band. Like, the drummers are put in the back of the stage. And I don't, and if you know about music, that drumming is very important. Like, the beat is being kept. The drummer is keeping the beat, and a lot of amazing points out of the show come from the drummer. And when you see the song is coming to an end, who does Rick turn to close the song? Yep. The drummer. That's, they're keeping the beat together. And so it's really cool. I'm happy. Sorry, I had to go back and talk about, Ben, because they just Ben, Trevor, Jeff, they just don't get the recognition that they should. And that's got to be hard to know, that you're doing as hard of work. And I think Jeff, probably being the newest member, definitely doesn't get as much love as he should get. But definitely, Ben being a drummer, he definitely doesn't get the love that he should. So I'm Team Fred, I'm the drummer team and stuff, just absolutely love them and think the world of them. And just their talent is insane. It's just wow. It's a wowzers, all of them. They just, Ben
works so hard back there, y'all. I mean, the amount of exertion, he sweats, he just puts in just dripping sweat by the end of the show.
So joyous.
And he's still so happy. He always, I have one of his drumsticks that he threw out. And when I looked at it, it was beat to shit, y'all. I was like you could just see the work on the actual stick itself. And it just gave me even more appreciation for him, and that he does that so often, throwing his sticks out to the crowd and getting them to people and being so sweet and so nice, and just a great person.
Yeah, my daughter's obsessed with Ben. I hear she goes to sleep to Ben interviews. Hey, I didn't even know that they had this many interviews. I'm going to have to go to Sky and be like, hey, Sky, can you show me where you're getting all this info from? And because she goes to sleep every night with a Ben interview or something that Ben is doing. And I'll hear his voice in the house. I'm like, what? What is going on now? I figured out it's just her, and she's turned that on to go to sleep.
Soaking up all the Ben. I love it.
Exactly. Just loves that she's a drummer. So she's all about it. And he's just so, just so positive and so uplifting and making sure that she's, doing, Sky, are you doing your paradiddles? Are you doing, and just like, who has time, he knows. And I'm truly just humbled by this band of how much that they're doing it, but how much that they want to make sure that their fans know that they love them. Their fans are seen, that it's not just hey, thanks for giving your money, don't want to have anything to do with, and how dare you come up to me and talk to me. They're not like that at all. They're just like, oh, thank you so much for everything, and want to interact. And like you said with Peter, like he is very big into and wanting to know like what the fans think, how that they can improve things. It's making sure they can improve things, not an insecurity thing. It's what are our fans saying? What can we do to improve their money that they've spent and to help, and then sometimes he's like, well, yeah, they have the right to feel that way. But if they didn't like the way we played that song, I'm very sorry, And so,
what were you going to say, Hannah?
Oh, just that we were talking about drummers in the Gong Gang. So this is like my friends and I going back and forth in a group chat, but we came up with this phrase that sort of builds off of that called Goose Chicks Gong Wild. And like, obviously Jeff loves bad jokes and puns and stuff. And so then my girl Bailey, she just drew up like a little doodle of it real quick. And I actually made buttons that have that. We
got to get one to Jeff. Yes. We have to get one to Jeff.
Yes.
A must.
So I will have them at New Year's Eve. And I have some Goose Chicks buttons that I made and some Cincy Trash Crew buttons that I made. So, come find me if you want some swag. I don't have a lot. So, find me early.
Just save one of those buttons though for Jeff for real, Hannah. Yes, hold one to the side so we can definitely.
Yeah. So shout out to my friends because we just all collaborated on that. And also I have a question for y'all. Because some people are like very against the Beatles if they're into jam bands. Do you listen to the Beatles? I know. Don't look at me like that, Alexius. That's his thing.
No. I do. No. I do.
Yeah. Because, like when I have friends, especially musician friends who are like, oh, I've been meaning to listen to Goose. I'll go through some different questions to ask them to figure out the right songs and the right versions to play for people. And one of the questions I ask them is, are you a Paul or a John fan from the Beatles? And the reason why I do that is because what I have found is people who are Paul fans more tend to like Peter songs more, and then people who are John fans tend to like Rick songs better. And so, like, I don't know, like
I like the Beatles scale of Goose. I like this. I like this.
Like,
it adds up,
right? Like, and if you look at like the Beatles live and stuff like that, or like, if you've ever seen Paul McCartney live, he's a showman. He's very much, the Peter type who's like, well, I guess Peter would be a Paul, right? But like, you get what I'm saying? They're just like that showmanship, telling stories about the songs and stuff like that. And, John was very much just like, a rock god who did it, he wanted to just play his music.
This is a song about a werewolf. That's it. That's all you get.
Yeah, exactly. And so I wanted to point that out, like, and I don't know if that helps people, because like I've seen people ask, like, how do you tell the difference between a Rick or a Peter song and Facebook pages and stuff?
I love that.
The other thing that I say too is for people who are trying to figure out like who wrote a song, I'll be like, does it sound like it should be in a Wes Anderson film? If the answer is yes, it's a Peter song.
It's a Peter song. Those are great. Oh my gosh, such great, easy, like, shorthands to help people get more acquainted. Yes. I love that. Those are two really good ones, Hannah. Definitely stealing those. We'll be mentioning them again. We're going to stay with you, Hannah, because we're going to do fan art spotlight next. Yeah.
Totally. So fan art spotlight, which is one of my favorite things we do on this show because we have so many talented fans. So today we are highlighting Jelly Jam Goods, which is jam-inspired goodies by Kelly. So she's an Etsy store under Kelly Wingfield 23, and we will be posting a link to her Etsy shop with all of our stuff, so you can check her out. But it is KELLYWINGFIELD 23. So check out her stuff. if you're feeling so inclined, get some gifts for some people, some New Year's Eve gifts. And thank you, Kelly, for all that you do.
Yeah, and Kelly was at the hometown Flowdown at both Red Rocks and at Goose Chicks as a vendor. So shout out to her, putting herself out there and being part of, this fan art community that is building around Goose as well. Next, we have our podcast Lowdown, and I want to highlight a great podcast called There Are No Girls on the Internet, hosted by, full disclosure, my friend Bridget Todd. And I'll just read a quick description of it. On There Are No Girls on the Internet, digital activist and veteran podcaster Bridget Todd is chronicling what the online experience looks like for us and the overlooked ways marginalized voices have been at the heart of technology and the internet from the very beginning. She's absolutely brilliant. She also happens to be the communication director at Ultraviolet, who I also love. And
I love them.
Yeah. And she just does, her podcast is on iHeartRadio, and she just does a really great job with kind of taking the ways that the internet affects all of us and kind of pulling back the layers to be like, actually at the heart of this is, antagonism towards women, antagonism towards marginalized people, and that we need to make sure we understand those things as we go about our digital lives. So shout out to you, to you, Bridget. And again, it's There Are No Girls on the Internet, and you can find that on wherever you get podcasts. All right. Coming into our final segment, we wanted to go through some highlights from 2022. And as we said, this was a monster year for Goose. I mean, I put this list together of the stuff that they did, and my head almost exploded. So we won't spend a ton of time of all of them, but I did want to make sure we gave a little bit of love to all of them. Can't help but start with the Radio City Music Hall run and the Dripfield album release, which happened at the same time. And Trey sitting in on night 2, which I don't even know. I don't know if I've told the story here on the show, but literally my husband and I were going to New York for my niece's high school graduation, and we're sitting on the plane, and the photo of Trey's gear getting loaded into Radio City Music Hall dropped while we were on the plane waiting to taxi. And he shows it to me. He's like, "Hey man, I think Trey might be sitting in with Goose tonight." And I go, "Are there tickets?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "We are going on a plane to New York right now. We can go." And he was like, "Oh." So he went, got tickets, and it was literally like a movie. We're taxiing, it's spinning, processing. We take off and it's like accepted. Then we have no internet on the flight. We land, and by the time we land, it has blown up. The photo's gone viral. You cannot get a seat at this show anymore. And it was just an amazing experience. We booked it, dropped our stuff off at our Airbnb, booked it into the city, and got there just in time to see the show. And it was amazing. So that Radio City Music Run was amazing. They did 3 sets. It was the first time we got to see the full band acoustic, which was, forget about it. Just mind-blowing. So beautiful. Even I remember the acoustic set was just lit so perfectly with just the white, lights behind them. All of it was just really beautiful. And historic moment of, there've been so much animosity coming from, diehard Fish fans prior to that Radio City Music Hall run. And I just remember after that, us all being like, now what do you have to say? Now right? What?
Exactly.
Your guy just went and did this whole set with them. What are you complaining about now? You don't get to complain.
And now now you know. And it's all, it was very funny at the end of the night. The people that were going in just so negative, Goose, what are we doing? And then all of them at the end, people around too that were just complete Fish fans. And at the end of it, they're like, "Oh, well, this band's not that bad." It was really fun watching those, watching everything come together. And that was cool. That was definitely an awesome, like you said, 3 sets, all acoustic. That was for me. I was like, okay, I can do a Ray-Blow, and if this is kind of what we get, I'm all about it.
Absolutely. And then obviously the Dripfield release, which, come on.
Do we have time for a cute little anecdote about the radio? Okay. So on night 2, me and my friend were in, I think, Brooklyn, seeing my friend from high school play a little brewery that she plays regularly. She's awesome. She's acoustic girl rock. Her name's Taylor Place, PLAS, shout out. But anyway, I see this group of young kids, like late teens, early 20s, sitting next to us or like at a table next to us, and they have Goose shirts on. So of course I go and ask them like what they thought of the show. And they said they really enjoyed it. And it was their first jam band show. And I was like, oh, are you going tonight? And the two guys were like, yeah, we want to, but our friend, she doesn't want to spend money on a second night because, it's going to be the same music. And I was like, no. Like jam bands always have completely different sets. Like I promise you, they will not even repeat one song. And she was like, are you sure? And I was like, yes. And so I continued talking to them for a little while and, just very much encouraged them to do night 2. And this was right before we found out about Trey and everything. And as they're leaving, because they left a little before us, they were like, we got tickets. And so it was just so cool, these like 21-year-old kids who, they got to go to the most epic show with the Trey sit-in and they almost didn't. So that's like one of my favorite tour memories is just like, spreading that love and having those conversations with random strangers at a random place that wasn't even close to the venue, right? Like we were in Brooklyn. We weren't even in anywhere close to Radio City Music Halls. So I just thought that was so cool.
I love that. What a great story. Then they played Red Rocks and sold it out for the first time this year, which that show was beautiful. It was magic. They did 3 nights in Colorado, 2 nights in Dillon, and then they finished up at Red Rocks. Just really historic moment for them. I remember, I could tell they felt the moment because it's hard not to at Red Rocks. It's such a historic venue and so beautiful. And we just were like, they're playing Red Rocks, we're going. My husband and I were just like, we're just going. I don't want to miss it. It's their first time. I may not go every time they play, but I'll be able to say we went the first time. And it also was for me like that show kind of turned us like, okay, we've got to see them as much as possible in 2022. It's clear this is an inflection year for them, and we want to be able to experience these firsts with them. And this was one of them, which was just so good. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. It was a magical.
Good choice that you made on that. Like, I'm going, and because we said the same thing. We were like, the first time that they play at Red Rocks, we're going to be there. This is a huge moment, huge historical moment. And then like a couple of weeks later, they put it out and we were like, oh my gosh, it's already happening. Are you serious? And so here we go. And so, and I think that Red Rocks tour definitely pulled out like the fans, like not the super duper duper fans versus fans, but that first night at Dillon was definitely a tester for all of us. And but those Colorado shows were just magical, completely magical,
and just solidified. They have such a great base of a fan base in Colorado, and we just saw they brought Goosemas to Colorado for that exact reason. That their fan base in Colorado is so strong, so vocal, and just show up for them. And they've had so many historic, some of my favorite shows to go back and listen to is like the Sculpture Garden and like all stuff that they've done in Colorado. Also, I love Colorado to visit. It's one of my favorite states to go to. It's just fun there. So, they also got the 7 p.m. slot at Austin City Limits 2 weekends in a row, which is huge. We only went to one of the weekends. My husband and I did because we were in Austin anyway, so we figured we'd go, and hadn't been to Austin City Limits again. I'm not a huge, large festival person. It's a lot of stimulus and it's just too much for me. But we did get to see Goose's set the first weekend, which, festival sets are very different. We have a whole episode we have coming up helping folks decipher between what a festival set is like and what a Goose show is like. So be on the lookout for that soon. Trust me, we've got y'all. We have a lot of great information we're going to be bringing to you. But I was just excited to see them in just 1 year move to such a huge, high profile slot at a festival they played just the year before. And speaking of Austin, Big Boy from Outkast joined them on stage at Stubbs when they played there. I have to tell you, I was on the rail for that show. And I want to shout out a rail writer and a great Goose fan, John Weber, really quickly, because John's so sweet and just a great person overall. But we got into that show and he came over to me. He said, "Hey, Leslie, I heard Soundcheck and they did So Fresh and So Clean. And, Big Boy's playing the late night show here tonight. So he might be coming out here." I literally looked at him. I said, "John, shut up. There's no way Big Boy is coming out here to play with Goose. That sounds ridiculous. But maybe they'll play So Fresh and So Clean as like an homage or something." And of course, then it does happen, like the DJ setting up. And I think Peter's exact words were as incredulous as I just sounded, was like, we don't usually do this, but here's Big Boy. He just looked over for me like 4 people down, and he was like, see, I told you. And I literally was just like mind blowing. And as Alexius said, I don't take out my phone too much at shows, especially on the rail, because it's a lot to look at. But I pulled it out one moment just because I saw Rick, Peter, Jeff, and Ben and Trevor all looking at each other like, holy shit, can you believe this is happening to us? And so I just did one quick like pan of the stage, like started with Big Boy, pan to the two of them, like, oh, I can't believe this. And it was just unbelievable and really great. And my favorite thing is that if you listen to that show, Big Boy comes out and he goes, "What up, Rick?" It's the first thing he says. And so my husband and I say that all the time now. "What up, Rick?" To each other. It's like a little salutation. And it was just really great. And as I understand it, he reached out to them. The word is out that if you should be playing with Goose. And I think the word is really out that you want to be playing with Rick specifically. I have heard from lots of musicians that that's like the word on the street. Like, they're the hottest band. You want to be on stage with them. You want to play with them. You want Rick to come play and sit in with you. Like, so I think we're going to see a lot of that in 2023, just people wanting to hop on stage with them. And I'm excited for all that might entail. Of course.
I wanted to say just like one quick thing about the watching it. I wasn't there like you were, but so I'm home and I'm watching that one on the couch, and I think we had separated, like, right. You went to Texas, I came home. Yep. And so I'm watching, ready for this to happen. Like you said, it's a music festival, so you're just having to wait. So at some point, I don't know if too many people saw this, they had like a quick interview with Goose and stuff. And and so she's asking, the interviewer's asking, like, how did y'all, how did this come about? Like, how did y'all meet each other and know that this was happening? And Rick said, well, we have the same owl trainer. And so I just like die laughing, just crying hysterically and just laughing so hard, because all the answers that they gave in that interview, we're going to have to find it and like put a link to it.
Yeah, it's really fun. Yeah. But also, Big Boy does train owls, so it's extra funny because that Rick even knew this like small detail about Big Boy's real life. There's a lot of videos of him like training his owls. They're huge. He has like a whole 10 of them or something, and he does have an owl trainer. So when he said that, I was like, wow, that's really deep knowledge of the person they were playing with to like have an inside like joke answer, but also it be really plausible. It was really funny, really funny.
It was. So we're going to have to find that and put it up, because I don't think a lot of people, anytime I try and tell like one of the things from that, they're like, what? Huh? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the most hilarious interview ever. So we're going to have to find it, because there's a whole lot more hilarious things. And so I'm sure that I don't think the girl who's interviewing got a lot of it, but of course, when this and that side, she's like, oh, okay. I'm like, I don't see how she's not like dying laughing right now.
Yeah, she was going to be so professional, I think, guess she got her little interviewing gig. So shout out to her too for keeping her.
Trevor's even like cracking up in that. So that tells you how funny it was. Like, he's having to like, just keep his head down, keep his mouth covered, because that's how funny it was. So Sorry to interrupt. I just we're gonna have to find that.
We have to find that one. Sure. If we find the link, we'll put it up. Then of course we have the Taboose run. I don't even need to say any more about it. Neither do we. There's a whole episode you can listen to, and we dissect every single show. So definitely check that out. I'll make sure that direct link is included in the show notes. And then we have the late night shows. They did Jimmy Kimmel and the Tonight Show. The things I want to mention about those two, one, I mean, they were great performances and open them to new audiences, but they're so smart. Their management is so smart. They go on the Tonight Show and then announce spring tour the next day. Like, they've used these really big moments to really elevate whatever they're doing next. And so I have a dream that they will be on SNL this year, and that will be when they announce summer tour. So I'm just putting it out in the universe right now that they'll play SNL, and that the day after that summer tour will go on sale. So that's my dream. So if anybody's listening that can make that happen, please do so. Thank you very much.
I'm pretty sure it was Jimmy Kimmel. where he said the infamous, they're saying goose.
Yes, he
because,
did.
you know, if you're unsure what that means, when Goose comes out or people are cheering, they cheer Goose, and it sounds a lot like they're booing.
Yeah.
And people get really confused. So I really, really appreciated that Jimmy was like, they're saying Goose. Like, no, they're good. We're not booing them. My cousin said the same thing at her first show. She's like, why are they booing? I'm like, they're saying Goose. So that's you'll hear that a lot in Goose land.
I think their IG bio just says they're saying Goose. Just that's how prevalent it is. I just wanted to give a shout out to the fact that they wrote 16 new songs in 2022, y'all. I just even saying that out loud, and most of them are not on Dripfield, so I just want to also put that in the mix. Like, they had an album come out, and yes, they did debut the Dripfield Trio this year as well, just because of the timing of the New Year shows that happened in February, or the Gooseman shows that happened in February. But 16 songs to debut while you're doing all this touring is really something. It's
has it really been 16 songs? Like,
yes, it's
holy
16,
guacamole.
16 of them. Maybe we'll break down the 16 we'll do like a mini episode and just talk about each of them. But I mean, we talked about Thatch at the top of this show and mentioned Mr. Action, which are the most recent two this year. Who knows? You might get one more before the end, right? By the time the clock strikes 12, who knows? And that doesn't count new covers. Those are 16 Goose songs that were written this year for the first time. Yeah.
Wow.
One of my friends, who's obviously a huge Goose fan, he was at a bar recently and he was talking to this girl and he was all excited, to meet a girl who was into Goose. And then she was like, I don't really know if I'm super into them anymore because I don't think they're releasing enough music right now. And I was like, he tells me this and I'm like, I was like Mama Bear. I was like, are you fucking kidding? I'm gonna teleport there right now so I can have a conversation with her. And then so I was so appreciative that you counted out because I lost track of
For the record, I didn't. I'm assuming Peter did because when they did their little rundown, he mentioned we performed 16 new songs this year, and I was like, wow. And then I started counting. I'm like, it is 16. Like, they really have done so many new songs. I mean, Animal was this year, y'all. I mean, it
doesn't even feel like it is, right?
That was my birthday present.
What?
So, yes.
Absolutely.
Everything Must Go is, I think, my favorite new song.
I love that. I was there for that one. That was you, Alexius. We were both there for that one. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Really good.
Because I was like,
what's this one?
What's happening? Like, is this the cover song?
You guys about that. Yeah.
Then, of course, the Western Sun Foundation Goose Community Launch. I don't need to go into much more of that. We talk about them all the time, but definitely make sure you're supporting that and sign up on Goose Community because it's the best place to kind of track your shows, see if your friends are at shows, and connect with other people. So just wanted to give a plug for that. And we launched in 2022 Goose Chicks Pod. So shout out to the four of us for bringing this from idea to you all listening to this right now. Very exciting. And then, of course, Goose Miss, which we touched on last week, but two big things about that was it was outside of Connecticut for the first time, and instead of one night, it was two. So super exciting. Last little bit we wanted to talk about was each of our current, I say current because there's a lot of songs out there, favorite Goose song and your favorite 2022 version of it. And we're going to start with Hannah.
All right. So y'all know this was really hard for me. I ended up just going through and thinking about all my favorite songs, and that really snowballed because I have a bunch and me and my friends don't really like to choose a favorite Goose song. So I was thinking about it more, and I've been really into Echo of a Rose right now. I'm actually doing a rose theme for the 30th, and that's I'm going to dress up with a bunch of rose stuff. So are some of my friends. And so I'm going to choose to highlight the version from Fox Theater on December 18th because that was sort of a little bit different version. So it was their slow version that was the original version, which I thought was cool. And also, I guess also it's a way to sort of drop some knowledge on that song, which we always try and do. So yeah, I would have to go with, and that's just right now, Echo of a Rose in honor of the 30th and the New Year's Eve run, the December 18th version.
Love it. Chelsea, you're up next.
So for me, I just went with the first song that popped in my head because, like she said, it's really hard to choose a favorite. So that was 726. This song has just been really monumental and influential to me this year. I look at it as having to make like a big decision, and that played a huge role in some big decisions I had to make this year. So anyways, love that song. And then the version I chose was the Arabelo version, actually, from July in Lake Placid. That venue looked super cool also. And it was like a rainy time. I don't know if anyone was there, but it just looked really cool. But that was the first time I heard the Arabelo version. And I just feel like that song is really meant to be an acoustic song. When you hear it, it's just so beautiful. And so that's why I chose that one, 726.
That's one of my husband's favorite songs is 726. Alexius, you're up.
Okay, so just like I just said about like the new songs that they wrote this year, Animal premiered, it premiered on my birthday, June 11th. So, and that was what Legend Valley that we were at, and so that is actually one of my favorite songs right now is the Legend Valley version on June 11th of Animal, and I still think it's like one of their best versions of it. It was over 20 minutes, and just to be there, and like I told y'all, like the beat gets me first, and then I go on, and so the beat to that was just amazing, and I was on the rail, and just to turn around and see everyone was jamming out, just going, none of us had an idea what the song was. It just had such an amazing beat to it, and then we got Animal for you get that part and stuff, and so just moving your body to that, and it's it was an awesome first song to drop, and just the how we all felt, and I can't think of that word, just the reaction to the song coming out was just speechless, just everyone was just dancing, grooving down, and the song was coming out, and it was just an awesome debut of a song. And still to this day, it's my favorite one. It's still jamming out, just really jammy. And so I just felt like that was the best birthday present that Goose could have ever given. I know it wasn't about me at all, but I will continue to tell myself that forever. that they gave me that for my birthday.
I love it. This year has also been about Animal for me for lots of reasons, but just I love to dance. Anybody who's seen me at shows know that I am a big dancer. So just the idea of building a song around telling people that it's our evolutionary, instinct and, motivation to move our bodies just makes me feel really great. And I actually blame my love for that song on the Set One closer in Atlanta on October 1st, because that show just kept going. And then I'm like, they're playing Animal now? I just remember sitting there being like, I can't believe that they're doing this now in the middle of this monster set and closing it with that. So I want to shout that out. All right. I'm so glad we got to do that amazing recap of 2022. I mean, what a year for Goose. What a gift to all of us for this year to be able to witness and experience all of this, whether together, whether in person, whether on your couch. I know all of you listening are probably feeling the same way, thinking, could all of that have really happened in 365 days? Well, with Goose, that is true. All of that happened in one single year. And as head spinning as it must be for us, I can't imagine what it's like for the five of them to have really been on this journey themselves. And they've handled it with such, grace and love and sense of community. And, they're the foundation of this community. So they go as we go. And so thank you to Goose for giving us all these amazing experiences that we are here and so happy to talk about. Speaking of experiences, New Year's is literally, we are recording this on Wednesday, the 28th of December. So we are, 24 to 40 hours from all seeing each other. Very excited. So that's the first really big thing, is that for the first time, the entire Goose Chicks podcast crew will be in the same city, going to the same show that we know of, and we'll be able to hang out. So I'm so excited to do that. We also are going to have special Goose Chick stickers available and free. We're just going to be handing them out. So if you see any of us, just ask, or if you see one of us with stickers, just come on over. We really want to get them out to folks. I love my favorite thing is coming home and like emptying my bag and seeing all the stuff I accumulated from tour, from show run. And so let us add to yours and come get a sticker from us. We also have all sorts of stuff on the sticker, including a number you can call, which Chelsea is going to talk about in a minute. But before that, I want to just mention that, again, the Western Sun Foundation is running their New Year's Eve run raffle benefiting the Please Neighborhood Center in Cincinnati. It's about 1.5 miles away from the venue. So one, if you're going to Cincinnati, stop by the Western Sun Foundation table. You can make a donation right there and get entered in to win some great prizes. And we'll also have a link in the show notes to see exactly what you can support, because some of the things that you can donate directly to enter the raffle, you can help pay for journals for the girls that participate in the writing circle at the neighborhood center. You can cover tuition for a piano student for winter semester, and you can even pay for a bus for a summer field trip for the students. So this is a really impactful event. It's a really impactful campaign. So we really want to encourage people to donate and participate. $10 gets you one entry, and the prizes are pretty cool. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Chelsea.
So we want to hear from you. We have a new voicemail line we set up for all the Goose Chicks and fans to share their experiences with Goose and just the jam band scene. So you can call 704-275-3128 and leave us a message, and it might get played on the show. This week, we are asking people to call in and tell us their favorite show of 2022. Again, our number is 704-275-3128. Give us a call. Goose Chicks Podcast is produced by Leslie Mack with support from sound engineer Matt Dwyer, co-host Alexius Lipot, and contributors Chelsea Long, that's me, and Hannah Liebreich.
We are a proud member of the Osiris media family. You can check us out on socials at Goose Chick Pod and our website, goosechickspod.com. As always, we encourage our listeners to support the Western Sun Foundation. Visit westernsunfoundation.org for more information.
A special thanks to our new sponsor, Ben and Jerry's, for their support, and with a special thanks to Jay Curley and Jay Tandon and their teams. We love you guys. Be sure to check out Ben and Jerry's latest flavor, Lights Caramel Action, in partnership with director Ava DuVernay, which gives back through her Array Alliance, which advances social justice through art, which is so much in alignment with our community. So check that flavor out. And thanks again to Ben and Jerry's for their support.
Remember, subscribe and leave us a review in your favorite podcast app. Also, tell a friend about the show. It really does help us. Don't forget to call our number and leave us a message at 704-275-3128. Until next time, be kind to each other out there.
Osiris.